No matter what you do in Terraria, whether it's farming enemies, mining ores, or chopping trees, you're probably picking up items. But what if you couldn't? Well, that's exactly what a niche little item called the Encumbering Stone does. While active, it will prevent the player from picking up any items. So in a playthrough where the Encumbering Stone is active at all times, how do you actually get anything other than the basic starter tools? The secret is chests. You see, the Encumbering Stone only stops items from being picked up in world, but you can still freely transfer them from a chest into your inventory. This little workaround is the only way I can actually make progress in the early game. But with a jungle to the left, a corruption to the right, and no light sources to go caving with, I'm incredibly limited with how many chests I can access. That's where world hopping comes into play. The way I see it, the challenge in this playthrough comes from the restrictions placed on the player, so as long as I don't create a new player, world hopping is completely justified. It's also possible I could softlock myself with a single world if there's not enough loot in it, and given the fact that I'd be 30 or 40 hours into the playthrough before realising this, it's not a chance I'm willing to take. The second world was a bust, but on the third I managed to lure a torch zombie into a cave so I can see if there's any chests within it. And luckily there was, containing the exact 2 items I was looking for, those being torches and wood. When combined, these allow me to create some housing back on the original world, which I try to make as cheaply as possible to conserve resources, just like a real-life housing developer. Along with being required for housing, torches also allow me to explore much more of my world, so while I wait for some NPCs to spawn, I descend into the desert and search for more treasure. After mining my way through the darkness with the occasional torch break to check my surroundings, I eventually find my first desert chest, and within it is one of the most surprisingly useful items in this run, the Snake Charmer's Flute. Aside from the fact that this acts as infinitely placeable rope, it also emits light along its entire height, acting as both mobility and visibility without me having to spend my very limited resources. This helps me cross the corruption to the right of spawn where I find another chest with more wood. More wood. Lovely. I use this to make some more housing in the desert, at which point the merchant finally shows up. This unlocks the second and only other way I can get items in this run, as thankfully you can still buy items from NPCs without the Encumbering Stone getting in the way. That still leaves the pretty major issue of how I can actually afford any of these, as the Encumbering Stone also stops me from collecting coins dropped by enemies, bosses, or myself. Because of that, my only source of money for the rest of the playthrough will once again be chests. So with a technically infinite, albeit incredibly slow and tedious source of money, what can I actually buy to help this playthrough along? Turns out not much. The mining helmet would make exploring a whole lot easier, but also costs a whole lot of money that I currently don't have. The piggy bank really just acts as a very expensive portable inventory, as once I place one down, I won't be able to pick it back up again. The anvil, while useful for crafting, can already be made with some lead I found. You may think the bug net would be a good shout then. Fishing bypasses the Encumbering Stone, so getting some bait would unlock the ability to reel in some crates for a lot of useful items, money, and even a small chance of life crystals. Only that's not possible either, as the bug net spawns items on the player's position rather than placing them in the inventory. That's fine, you may say. You could instead use the can of worms found in surface chests to start fishing. But no, they also spill items out in the world, which is unfortunately the same case for every other grab bag in the game, including crates themselves. So even if there was a hypothetical way to get bait, there'd still be no life crystals for me, locking me at just 100 base health for the entirety of the playthrough. With fishing out of the question, my only way to actually progress any further is to get back to searching for chests, and for the next few hours that's exactly what I do. Slowly gaining more materials, new accessories, and many items I can sell for money, earning enough to finally buy the mining helmet before I create a drunk world to continue my search. The drunk seed has a few specific advantages over a regular one. First of all, they spawn living trees a lot more frequently, which can both generate chests themselves, along with exposing ones that would otherwise be hidden in caves. Secondly, it has the Moonlord legs, an item exclusive to the seed that gives a pretty decent bonus to my jump height and movement speed. Lastly, it generates a very long minecart track underground, granting easy access to many more chests. Whenever my inventory gets too full, I head back to the main world to empty it, with any duplicates or items that are no longer useful being sold for gold. Then once my inventory is cleared, it's straight back to searching for chests. Eventually, while on the eternal chest grind, a travelling merchant shows up selling dynasty wood. While this can't be used for everything that normal wood can, it's still an easily renewable block and will be my go-to building material for the rest of the playthrough. Unfortunately, the rest of the playthrough continues to be a matter of searching for chests, which is surprisingly not even the most grindy thing in this playthrough. In fact, it's probably overshadowed by another 3 or 4 activities that are much, much worse. We'll get to that a little later though, as I've now found my first shiny red balloon of the run. You may be thinking that's great. I can combine it with one of my double jump bottles and a lucky horseshoe to make space for some other accessories. If only this run were so easy. You see, to get the Tinkerer's Workshop to combine accessories, I first need to find the Goblin Tinkerer. But to do that, I first need to beat the Goblin Army. And to do that, I first need to spawn the Goblin Army, which requires 200 health. As I've already covered, there's no way for me to increase my base health without picking up items. So that means there's also no way I can combine accessories. Considering I'm already limited to what I can scavenge from chests and scrounge from NPCs, the pool of accessories I can actually use in this run is absolutely tiny, with an even smaller amount of those being hard mode options. Thankfully though, there's still a few standouts such as the Dune Rider boots, which offer excellent movement speed on top of sand. The only issue is that I can't move sand myself to make an arena by proxy of, well, not being able to pick it up. So unless I want to wait for an antlion to slowly expand my desert, I'm going to have to make do with what the world gave me. Turns out this is more than enough to take out the Eye of Cthulhu in Classic mode though. And yes, I'm doing this on Classic mode. It may make things seem a little easy right now, but trust me when I say it's going to be almost required later on in the playthrough. While I had my buffs active, I decided to go give Skeletron a try too. Wow, maybe doing this in Classic mode was too easy. Defeating Skeletron grants access to the first progression locked items in the run, with them being found in locked golden chests found in the dungeon. Usually, you'd get keys to open these from dungeon slimes or as very rare drops from other dungeon enemies. But once again, you need to pick those up, so we're going to be a little more restricted in this run. If a chest generates high enough in the dungeon, it will do so as an unlocked wooden chest with a golden key inside, and after that, every 8th chest will be a wooden one. This usually results in around 1 to 2 golden keys per small world, and thankfully there's only 2 items I actually want from the dungeon, those being the Shadow Key to unlock chests in the Underworld, and the Cobalt Shield, one of the few accessories that will remain useful in hard mode. Thankfully the main item in a dungeon chest is deterministic, so I know for a fact that the second chest will always contain a Cobalt Shield. Sadly, after wasting the 1 golden key in my world, I figure out that this means second by generation and not by depth, so I'll once again have to rely on world hopping to get more of them. And this is actually another situation where the Drunk Seed can help. Dungeons in this seed spawn at the bottom of a living tree and almost always generate a chest above the point where the Dungeon Guardian can spawn, meaning if I get a world where this is a wooden chest, I can get another key without having to fight Skeletron. It takes quite a few worlds before I get one with a wooden chest, but on my 11th attempt I get another golden key and bring it back to my main world only to find... yeah, looks like I actually made the same mistake twice when it comes to chest depth. Back to world hopping it is then. On the next world I get a random King Slime spawn on the outer thirds of the world, and while it is an incredibly easy fight and doesn't unlock anything new, I still felt like I should mention it. After that it takes another 2 worlds before I get another golden key, and thankfully I open the right chest this time, revealing both a Cobalt Shield and a Shadow Key. Oh, what a chest. What a chest. That has saved another 3 hours of grinding, potentially. The Shadow Key is a completely separate 33% chance per chest, by the way, so getting both of these in the same one was really lucky and would have saved me a lot of time if I'd opened it in the first place. That's no matter though, I'm just glad I got it, as now I can head to the Underworld and start opening chests for some brand new upgrades. Aside from better weapons, powerful potions, and the Forerunner for the most useless accessory in this playthrough, these also give access to meteor bars, which are going to become incredibly important a little later in the run. After a bit more world hopping, I get enough bars to craft a full set of meteor armor and a space gun, which is one of the only viable magic weapons in this playthrough as I can't get any permanent mana upgrades, making the meteor armor set bonus that much more important. With that, I have pretty much every possible upgrade before hard mode. All that's left to do is look for a pair of fledgling wings at a 1 in 40 chance per sky chest. But if I'm going to be hopping across multiple worlds to get a single accessory, I may as well get one with a good modifier, which is where the Celebration Mark 10 seed comes into play. Every item found within a chest here will come with one of the best modifiers possible, so for accessories that would be menacing, lucky, warding or quick. The seed also has some new starting NPCs when you join the world, with the princess selling both the slime staff and heart lanterns. Unfortunately, there's no way to turn these into life crystals with the Encumbering Stone active, but there's still a really nice arena buff to have. While searching for the wings, I also make sure to scour the underground desert for a better reforge on my Dune Rider boots, and to collect as many bass statues as possible, along with looting the Underworld for more potions to drink and weapons to sell. After around 6 hours of searching across 19 different worlds, I finally get a pair of Dune Rider boots with warding on them.
Oh, thank God. Oh, that took way too long, but it's done.
At that point, I decide to take a much needed break from opening chests to start a much more exciting project, building an arena in the jungle. This will for sure help against Queen Bee, but I'm mainly doing this as very early prep for Plantera. With only 100 health, I'll die to pretty much any jungle mob in hard mode, so mining this out now and placing walls to stop enemies spawning just makes more sense. Once it's in a good enough state, but definitely not finished, I spawn Queen Bee and very easily take her down. While I can't collect any of her drops, defeating her does allow the Witch Doctor to move in. Before I get to that though, I take advantage of the buffs I used against Queen Bee by fighting Skeletron in a Celebration Mark X world. You see, the better reforges on chest items also applies to locked dungeon chests, so I may as well spend a bit of time now getting a Warding Cobalt Shield, since I'll be using it all the way to the end of the game anyway. It takes a few dungeons and therefore a few Skeletrons to get one, after which I go back to looking for some fledgling wings. Thankfully that doesn't take too long and I can get back to the incredibly engaging task of placing walls in the jungle. Once that's done, I can get to the even more exciting stage of the game where I hammer every platform across 2 full rows so that I don't get caught on them while fighting Plantera. This isn't all the preparation I need for hard mode though, far from it. I'll still need an arena for the mechs and lunatic cultist, so level out the desert next to the dungeon. I also know that I'll be doing a lot of waiting once I make it to hard mode, and waiting is much faster when you're asleep, just like in real life. Unfortunately, without being able to pick up cobwebs to make silk, I'll have to rely on a bed that's already placed in the world. There's 2 options for this, the dungeon and the Underworld. Both are equally as deadly, but with a cavern pylon set up right on the border of the Underworld, at least travelling to that one should be easier. While the NPCs move into their new geothermally heated homes, I finish off my arena with some platforms and placeable buffs before ending my stream. By the time I start the next stream, a lot has changed, and I don't mean off-camera progress. Every single minute of this run was streamed live just like the next playthrough I'm doing, and I'd highly recommend checking that out next time I'm live. It wasn't anything in-game that had changed, it was the fact that TerraSteel had released a theory crafting video going over the exact route behind this challenge run. This was just a coincidence, and neither of us knew the other was working on the same concept at the same time, but I wanted to bring it up anyway since I know I'll get some comments about it. I'd highly recommend checking out that video after this one though, as it's really well made. Somewhat ironically, the video dropped right before I got to the most interesting part of progression, which made it act as both a spoiler and a great resource to explain what I wanted to do next. The problem, or at least the perceived problem, is that I have no way of spawning the mechanical bosses. The souls required in the summon items can't be obtained without being picked up, and if an enemy drops one of the summon items directly, I won't be able to pick that up either. Well then, if directly summoning them is out of the question, what about the natural spawns? Well, these only occur after a demon or crimson altar has been broken, and without picking up the Pwn Hammer from the Wall of Flesh, there's no way for me to break those either. Or is there? I may not be able to break the altars myself, but what if something else could? I'll let you have a think about what that could be while I carpet bomb the surface of the corruption. I'm sure a lot of you know the answer already from TerraSteel's video, but for the rest of you I'm curious if anyone manages to guess. Before I can engage in phase 2 of my master plan, I first buy some mushroom seeds from the Dryad in a glowing mushroom biome, and convert some of the surface jungle into a glowing mushroom field, which should act as a nice home for the truffle NPC once I reach hard mode. After that, it's time to get back to the plan for the mechs, which involves placing barrels every few dozen blocks across the entire surface of the world. Chests would work too, but barrels are a bit cheaper, so are the preferred option. This is a pretty slow and monotonous task. There needs to be no more than a 70 tile gap between any barrels, otherwise my plan won't work. Once the entire surface has been covered, I take on the Wall of Flesh, which stands absolutely no chance against my Hellwing bow. With my buff still active, I double back on myself and summon the Eater of Worlds. It may seem a little confusing as to why I waited until hard mode to fight this, and it wasn't because I needed any gear upgrades. You just have to trust the process. Everything will make sense eventually. And by eventually I mean right now, as I can't put off the explanation any longer. You see, what I've been trying to do with placing down all these barrels and the destruction of the corruption is aim a meteor. Specifically to aim it at a demon altar. You see, when looking for somewhere to spawn a meteor, the game will try to avoid chests in an effort to not destroy any of the player's builds. This means each chest will protect an area around it from having a meteor spawn. If the entire surface, other than one small area, is covered in chests, then the meteor will be forced to spawn on that one small area. And if that one small area happens to have a demon altar on it, then this happens.
Thank goodness! That's the run done right there. I mean, sure, we've still got to go through the hell that is Moonlord, but that's such a major part of the run right there. Let's go see where it landed.
Now that an altar has been destroyed by the meteor, there's a 10% chance each night that a mech will spawn. I'm definitely not ready to fight any of them though, and I'll need to prepare fast if I don't want to waste any spawns. My first stop is the arms dealer for the shotgun and bullet casings, which I can combine with explosive power from the demolitionist to make explosive bullets. I also now have access to the ammo box from the arms dealer, the sharpening station from the merchant, and once I find him chilling next to the tavern keep, the crystal ball from the wizard. The tavern keep himself is very close to being an interesting NPC in this run, as his gift of 10 defender medals bypasses the Encumbering Stone. Unfortunately, this is limited to once per player rather than once per world, so going by my single character rule, I'm only ever able to get 10. In an alternate run, where you're allowed many characters however, this would grant access to some great armour sets after defeating a mech boss and golem, with the sentries dealing a fair bit of damage too. Sadly, I get none of that. In fact, short of getting lucky with what the travelling merchant sells, this is the best gear I can get. That's right, there's no armour upgrades, no accessory upgrades, and no new potions I can craft. Other than my shotgun, I'm basically still using pre-hardmode gear, so all I can do for now is sleep in hell while waiting for either a mech boss or the travelling merchant to spawn. I do a lot of sleeping in hell during this playthrough, at least 11 hours by my count. There were many points during this time where people would comment in the stream chat saying I should just cheat in the mech summons and that the audience wouldn't care. But I'd care. Authenticity is one of my top priorities on this channel, and even if I disclosed that I cheated the items in, it still wouldn't sit right with me. I'd rather grind my way through a 50-hour playthrough legitimately than cheat my way through it in 10. Just to what? Get a video out sooner? Grow the channel faster? And make more money? No thanks. My integrity is worth a bit more than that. Finally, after a whole lot of sleeping, the twins show up and I give them a try.
Oh god, I need to swap my ammo. And I'm dead already. That was such a waste.
As you can see, my 100 health doesn't get me very far in this fight, with the slightest distraction such as moving my ammo slots around being enough opportunity for the twins to absolutely decimate me. Sadly, there really is nothing I can do about this. I simply have to dodge better next time I get a chance, and who knows when that will be. In the meantime, all I can do is return to sleeping in hell, until one night I receive a warning of the arrival of Skeletron Prime. This fight goes much better, with me dodging well enough to stay alive through the entire night. The problem then, is that I quickly run out of night, after which Skeletron Prime puts some unknown white powder where his nose used to be, and proceeds to deal 927 damage in a single shot. I then have to explore some more worlds to build back my potion supplies before once again returning to sleep in hell. Thankfully though, the next night I get another Skeletron Prime spawn. However, it goes almost exactly the same way as the last, with my DPS simply not being high enough to take him down. Luckily, the next night I get yet another mech spawn, which I must remind you is a 10% chance each night, so 3 in a row is pretty rare. This time it's the twins again, and after the disaster that was the last attempt, I'm much more careful with this one, knowing that if I fail it could be multiple hours until I get another try.
Damage is looking better though. The problem is if I get hit with cursed flames, I'm going to take so much damage. Like that. Okay, this is probably going better than Skeletron Prime, I guess, in terms of damage. Whether or not that continues remains to be seen. Once they're in phase 2, it could get derailed. Okay, we're at 11 and between the two of them that are around half health, I think we got this. As long as I don't mess anything up. Which is very possible. There we go. I think we're fine then. Better not choke this. Hey. Oh, I was hoping to pick those up, but I guess not. Okay, we can now get the truffle to move in, right? No, the truffle now just sells a mushroom spear. Which, hey, I mean, it's not necessary, but I'm going to get it anyway.
Defeating the twins doesn't just unlock the mushroom spear though, it also unlocks the steampunker, and with her, the jetpack, my first accessory upgrade since reaching hard mode. And what an upgrade it is over the pitiful flight from fledgling wings. Of course, in order to use them against any bosses, I first have to spend even more time sleeping in hell, which has somehow become even worse than before. Now that I've defeated a mech boss, solar eclipses can happen, which I'm unable to sleep through despite being about as far from the sun and moon as humanly possible. This results in what is essentially an unskippable 15-minute cutscene with a 5% chance of happening each day. Despite that very low chance, I still managed to get 2 of them in a row.
Oh my, are you joking? Is this a joke? 2 in a row? Really? 2 in a row? There's nothing I can do right now.
This is where the real challenge of this playthrough lies. Not in the severe lack of gear or the fact that normal enemies can kill me in 1 or 2 hits, but in the waiting. The sometimes hours of sitting around waiting for something, anything, to happen. Whether that's a travelling merchant spawn, a mech turning up, or even a second meteor falling from the sky.
That was not expected.
The waiting got so bad in fact that I even started going through some tier lists on stream just to give my viewers something to watch other than me sleeping in hell.
Yeah, I would say B tier for King Slime if it's how enjoyable it is to fight. It's quite a satisfying thing to just like run away in one direction, then turn around, go back in the opposite. The next boss, which is the Eye of Cthulhu, I would say is less satisfying overall, because it's a bit more chaotic.
These started out fairly lucid and sensical, but as the hours crawled by and with my sanity slowly oozing out of my earholes, we soon ran out of the normal ways to rank things, and the stream, and by that I mean myself, started to become more and more unhinged.
Okay, so this is going to be based on how tasty they're going to be. King Slime. Ken looks pretty tasty, I'm not going to lie. I feel like he would taste like jelly. Slime God, I guess it's like a more meaty kind of jelly, which I would eat out of social anxiety. The phrase meat jelly is not one I anticipated hearing. Well, here you go. we ask the questions that others are not prepared to. Rank bars by how much you want to eat them, because not going to lie, some of them look tasty. With enough imagination, orichalcum is cotton candy bar. No, it's not. The mother and baby slimes, is it fair to eat them? Because of the moral implications, I'm going to put the mother and baby slime down here. The taste would be impacted by, you know, the thought of what you did to that family. I like how this implies this is what the character is dreaming of. With enough imagination, the umbrella also tastes like cotton candy. Does everything taste like cotton candy to you? Have you eaten anything other than cotton candy? Pogo stick? Can't eat. Golf cart would taste like cake if you think about it. Are you okay? With enough imagination, the pogo stick tastes like metallic, very large taffy. Do you taste with your imagination or do you taste with your mouth? All of that can't eat, all I'm thinking is just not with that attitude. What do you mean? I guess, yeah, you could eat the broom and the pirate ship if you're real hungry. But these are all metal. Can't eat metal. I've tried it. Bone wings. That's just like wings that someone else is eating. Pixie wings, I feel like pixie wings would taste quite nice. You know what? I think they taste like cotton candy. With enough imagination, the festive wings taste like leaves and glowing acidic jelly beans. I think we need to confiscate Neville's imagination. I think so too. Hear me out. Steampunk wings, they may be metallic, but name has steam. Steam is just water vapor, hence, with enough imagination, it's just metallic water vapor. I want you to go into your kitchen and to boil some water and then put a fork in it and eat it. And then tell me how tasty that is. Go make a fork soup. You put some knives and spoons in there if you want. I'm going to fight Neville if he says that you can eat the cube. With enough imagination, the frog probably tastes like cotton candy frog. Yeah, you're probably right. I think with enough imagination, the frog probably would taste like a cotton candy frog. What we have learned from this stream is that slime is tasty. More people want to eat metal than we'd like, and that many things taste of cotton candy. Everything, not many things. Everything tastes like cotton candy, if you have enough imagination.
Other than a third failed attempt against Skeletron Prime and a third meteor falling in the centre of my arena, the only real progress from this little detour into tier lists was a travelling merchant selling me an orange Zappinator, which turns out was covered up by the tier list itself. With that, it was then time for even more obscure tier lists, and even more sleeping in hell, and even more waiting for something to happen.
Worm Scarf does not taste very nice, but is at least made of flesh. Oh. We have a boss fight. I feel like my brain has rotten from the last like half hour of tier lists, and I don't know if I'm ready for this. Oh, these things are in my way. Ah! Oh, I wish enemies couldn't spawn there. Oh, that was such a waste. Because my brain was rotten from playing tier lists. Well, back you go to tier list hell. Yep, there's no escaping tier list hell. You may think you can escape, but you just can't. No one can escape it. Okay, I'm gonna give it till tomorrow night and then probably head off because this ain't going too well.
It seems the game listened to my anguish, as the next day I get not another Skeletron Prime spawn to mess up, but my very first Destroyer spawn.
Hell yeah, let's go. Destroyer. Oh, this is easy. This is good, yeah. Don't even really need to use any defensive or movement gear. This is a lot easier than Skeletron Prime for sure. Although, I'm still not convinced I won't manage to mess it up somehow. There we go. Easy. Oh, they did deal like 34 damage, so that could have ended badly, to be honest. It now feels kind of pointless to stop, you know? Part of me is like, let's just keep going. Let's get Prime down. And once again, rolling the dice, hoping to get another spawn. Because it would be so much nicer to come out of the stream having defeated both of the mechs, because from there it's pretty much a straight shot to the end game. I wonder how much of this playthrough is going to be spent just sleeping actually.
Turns out long enough for a very talented artist called Shadows of Colour to make a drawing of it while watching the stream, which he later even animated. Wanting to ensure my next attempt against Prime was successful, I took a little break from hell sleeping to make the last improvement I could think of to my arena: sunflowers. You may be wondering how I'm going to do this, as sunflowers require dirt, and last I checked, my arena was built in the middle of a desert. Well, allow me to introduce to you one of the most overlooked items in Terraria: the dirt rod. This is overlooked for a very good reason. The one single thing it does is move dirt. That's it. If it created dirt, it would perhaps see some use in skyblocks, but no, it just moves blocks of already placed dirt. This incredible lack of any utility means that this is potentially the first time the dirt rod has ever been used in a way that has even a passing resemblance to something beneficial. But I have to admit, it's the niche mechanics like this that make me love these sorts of challenge runs. In what other scenario would you be so restricted that the ability to move a dirt block from one place to another would be an exciting prospect? If you're similarly interested in niche mechanics like this, then you really should subscribe to see my next series, as it's going to be absolutely filled with them. And if my analytics are correct, then most of you keep coming back despite not being subscribed anyway, so you may as well make it official. With another solar eclipse keeping me awake, I decided to do something actually useful throughout it by hoiking my way into the temple to get prepped for Golem. I won't be able to pick up the temple key dropped by Plantera, so I'll have to use a hoik to get in regardless. Doing it now just saves time later. With a very basic arena in place and the solar eclipse over, I get back to my own personal room in hell for a little longer than an hour of nothing before finally, something.
Oh hell yes. Right, let's grab our buffs here. And head to here. Let's go. We want to make sure this is a good run. These are... Need to buff up actually. Why can't I use a healing potion? Oh, it's because I used honey. Oh, that. I was trying to use a healing potion, but because I drank the honey at the start of the fight, I couldn't. Alright, I'm thinking honey needs to not be a thing then, if that's going to do that. Do I just get a spawner from another world? I mean, I need to go actually searching through other worlds for more buff potions now. Okay, I'm going to take a minute. I'll be back in a minute.
Generally, when making these videos, I thoroughly enjoy the playthrough itself. I could be on attempt 157 against the Devourer of Gods, and I'd still tell you I'm having a pretty good time all things considered. Thanks for asking. But this playthrough, this one was different. There's a reason this video is only coming out now despite me starting the playthrough in September of last year. This challenge took its toll on me. The hours of my life spent sleeping in hell seemed to be endless, and the longer I did it, the less motivation I had to continue. This is why I knew that the next time Prime spawned, it would be my last try before I gave up on the playthrough. It was either now or never. Only one of us was getting out of this night alive.
The damage is actually quite good. One bad dodge and I'm screwed. Yeah, and we'll just have to play it safe, even if that means doing lower damage. This might be it, this rotation. There we go. Easy. Kinda. I'm curious about just going straight into Plantera. It'd be kind of funny. I've still got the buffs, so I feel like I may as well try. The nice thing about Plantera is there's no real time limit. Oh, Queen Bee, that's annoying. She'll hopefully die quite quickly. Where has Queen Bee gone? Is she dead? Is she still just chilling somewhere? No, she's still there, yeah.
Compared to sleeping in hell for 9 hours and dying to Skeletron Prime 5 times, Plantera was an absolute breeze. After which I decided to see how far I could continue this lucky streak by facing off against Golem.
I think the head's actually going to go down before the hands, which is weird. Kinda not what I want, to be honest. Oh, those deal a lot of damage. Don't get hit by the lasers. Okay, Golem Fists are down. Yeah, this actually might work. Maybe not. I mean, it doesn't take many hits to kill me, is the annoying thing. Nope. It was close.
You know what? I can't be mad at that. It was pretty close considering it was just 5 minutes after I beat the last mech. Before I jump straight back into the temple though, it's time to see what defeating Plantera actually unlocked. And surprise surprise, is not much.
Oh, Cyborg.
First of all, the Cyborg can now spawn. But other than the proximity mine launcher and access to nano bullets, he doesn't provide a lot. What's much more interesting is the fact that the Witch Doctor now sells my first and only set of hard mode armour, the Tiki set. The summon buffs this set provides can essentially be ignored. What I'm more interested in is the fact that this comes with a whopping 35 defense, a whole 15 higher than my next best defensive option, Platinum Armour. By default, the full set costs 1.5 Platinum, and even with some happiness discounts I'm still nowhere near that amount, meaning it's time to get back to my roots and once again go world hopping while looking for chests. My main targets here are money, things I can sell for money, and potions. And once I get enough, I return to my main world to buy a full set of Tiki armour, which I quickly realise won't work for Golem because even with a Gatligator and nano bullets, my DPS is still a lot lower than it is with Meteor armour and the Orange Zappinator, meaning I'll just have to make do with the much lower defense it offers. The issue is that this results in me being an average of around 2 hits from death at any given moment, and considering Golem is surprisingly tanky even in classic mode, I'm going to have to survive a lot of moments. There is one other trick I've been hiding up my sleeve though, one that will result in both better damage and survivability. All it requires is me searching through either a drunk, for the worthy, or get fixed Void Seed to find as many red potions as I can. If I drink these in my main world, I'll quickly die a very painful death from a cocktail of these 11 debuffs. However, if I drink them in a For the Worthy or Get Fixed Boy world, I'll instead be given 30 minutes of up to 3 random buffs from this list here. And the best part is I can drink more than one, rolling the dice multiple times to get as many of them as I want, with the only cost being the time spent searching for them. Timed buffs in Terraria are tied to the player, so I can safely leave the For the Worthy world and carry my buffs over to the main world where I can use them against Golem. The key buffs from this list that I didn't already have access to are Endurance, Wrath, and Rage, and getting even one of them should make the fight at least a little easier than before.
I'm about to die. I'm definitely gonna die here. Ah!
Still not easy enough apparently, as I end up dying on my next attempt. I spend some time collecting more red potions, then make a slight improvement to my arena by making a one-way wall for the fireballs to get caught in. This should hopefully make dodging a bit easier without them bouncing around. Even still, it remains a very tense fight, with me personally feeling every single hit I take.
Okay, this is when it's really just luck. And the luck is not going in my favour at the moment. Come on.
Eventually though, after a few lucky hits from the Zappinator, Golem falls.
Oh, thank goodness.
As has become tradition in this playthrough, I carry my buffs over to the next boss, but not before stopping by the party girl who now sells the celebration, which ends up being a little disappointing against the cultist due to his very small hitbox. I fall back on my old reliable Zappinator and settle in for a long fight. Like 7 minutes long. Thankfully I got a lot of training for this fight when I fought it as the second boss in my Calamity low percent run, and this cultist doesn't even have all the same attacks that one does, making it really just a battle of endurance.
Okay, another couple hits. He should be down. There we go. And straight into the solar pillar. Brilliant.
Defeating the cultist thrusts me straight into the endgame, and I'm going to be completely honest here. I had no idea how I was actually going to deal with it, so much so that there was a 3-month gap between this stream and the next, and when it did come round, the next one boiled down to what was essentially a cry for help in a testing world. The issue is that the Moonlord is a pretty tough fight, being the final boss of the game and all. He has a lot of health, deals a lot of damage, and worst of all has a built-in healing system with his Moonclots, which unless I get lucky with crits, I can't destroy before they reach him. That, combined with my low health, damage and defence, means a fair fight is off the table. The question then becomes, how unfair does the fight have to be? My first idea was to use this cage I designed that negates many of the Moonlord's attacks, most important of which is his death laser. However, many attacks still get through and deal a lot of damage, so my next plan was to use multiple cage setups with teleporters linking them. Whenever these phantasmal spheres were headed towards me, I'd simply teleport to the next cage to avoid them. This requires quite a lot of focus and even a bit of luck to pull off, and even still I have no real way of combating the True Eyes once they pop out, which deal even higher damage than most of his other attacks. Perhaps then I could scour my world in search of a heart statue and build my cage around it, providing me with a slow yet steady source of healing throughout the fight. Well, my testing showed that even this wouldn't be enough, as once his True Eyes join the battle, there's simply too many things to dodge and too much damage to tank. I tried a few other methods, including the potential of a speed kill with firework rockets, however, nothing seemed to work. The only possible path forward would have to be perhaps the biggest cheese I've ever done in the history of this channel, and for that, I'll need a really strong sword. The pool of swords I can get without picking up items is incredibly limited, so limited in fact that the second and third place for the best in the run are the Muramasa and Star Fury, both pre-hard mode swords with abysmal damage for this stage of the game. The first place option is a very unlikely candidate indeed, one that you probably wouldn't think is obtainable at first. But it turns out this is actually the best sword in the game for the strategy I'm going to be using, and all it takes is another trip into a secret seed and a few more hours of my favourite activity in this run, sleeping in hell. That's right, we've come full circle. Once again, the best strategy in the game is simply to sleep in the Underworld while waiting for something to happen. The specific something I'm waiting to happen is for the travelling merchant to show up and sell me an even more specific item. As you may know, in the Don't Dig Up and Get Fixed Boy seeds, many weapons will switch places with others, receiving changes to their stats to balance them for their new spot in progression. One such swap is the katana, which in normal worlds is very rarely sold by the travelling merchant. However, in Don't Dig Up and Get Fixed Boy, it is instead dropped by dungeon enemies after defeating Plantera. You may know where I'm going with this. In place of the katana, the travelling merchant will instead sell the keybrand, the absolute strongest weapon in the game that doesn't spawn any projectiles, a very important attribute for what I have planned. Of course, while in a Don't Dig Up or Get Fixed Boy world, the key brand is severely nerfed. However, once I take it back into my main world, it reverts back to its original, much higher stats. With my weapon of choice secured, it was time to make my final preparations for the Moonlord. This consists of digging a really deep hole at spawn and laying a really long wire to connect it to a teleporter at my arena, all while trying to fight back the solar enemies that have made it their home. Eventually, after many deaths, I managed to hook up the teleporter and slowly take down the solar pillar, which I of course can't pick up the fragments from. This means no Celestial Sigil, so every single attempt against the Moonlord will require me to defeat the Cultist and the Pillars all over again, so I really have to make this one count. I take down the Nebula and Vortex Pillars, but before moving on to the final one, I make some finishing touches to my drop shaft by blocking off all the caves and setting up another teleporter at the bottom with a pressure plate on it. This way I can stay in a constant state of falling while hitting the Moonlord's core, safe from any attacks that could hit me. I then take down enough Stardust enemies to drop the shield, but I don't take down the pillar itself yet. Instead, I decide now would be a really good time to give myself carpal tunnel syndrome by buying 999 beach balls from the party girl and throwing them into what I like to call the beach ball bouncy box. Unfortunately, beach balls don't stack, so every single beach ball I throw into the beach ball bouncy box requires 2 clicks on my mouse, for a total of 1,998 clicks, which just so happens to be the best year to be born in my very unbiased opinion. After almost 700 beach balls in the beach ball bouncy box, Bone Reaper in my stream chat suggests rebinding right click to my keyboard to give my hand a rest, which ends up working wonders and allows me to save some dexterity for what's to come. If you hadn't already guessed, what's to come is one of the most scuffed ways you could possibly fight Moonlord in Terraria. In fact, it's probably one of the most scuffed ways you could fight any boss in any game. You see, what I achieved by throwing 999 beach balls is reaching the projectile limit that's hard-coded into Terraria, meaning no other projectiles are able to spawn, including those from Moonlord. I'm not quite out of the woods just yet though.
Oh my god, no.
This is bad. This is really bad. In fact, it has the potential to be absolutely catastrophic, setting me back multiple hours and making me go through the Cultist, Pillars, and filling up the beach ball bouncy box all over again.
Teleport to the ocean. Yeah, that works actually, yeah. Okay, and then back to this ocean. Yeah, let's buff up just in case some shit like that happens again. No, no, no. Why is that still alive? What's the vibe here? I can't win with that there. It's surely despawned by now, yeah?
Now that Moonlord is here, I'm ironically much safer as normal enemies shouldn't be able to spawn.
Right, and now it's pretty safe actually.
Phase 1 is essentially free, where the only challenge is getting enough horizontal speed to hit the hands. Thankfully, the combination of my swiftness potion, Moonlord legs, the sunflowers I placed, and my Dune Rider boots on sand are just enough to make it viable. I still have to be very careful to not pop any of the eyes just yet though, as I want to make sure they all come out at the same time since the true eyes of Cthulhu and the empty sockets are the only remaining things that can damage me.
Once the true eyes come out, I am just praying, to be honest.
The closer they get to being destroyed, the more tense things become.
Let's hit that once. Hit that once. Problem is, a crit can just destroy it in one shot, you know? Okay, so that's 717, 882. That's what we're on. 670, 361. 1. Whoa! Literally 1 health on top. That is insane. Oh, I'm getting stressed. Man, this is, yeah, I'm getting shaky. Buff, and let's go for it. Oh, okay. Get that on, and the eyes need to go away. There we go, there we go. Okay, now this until he's dead. Come on, come on. Oh! I can't even use my hook. I can't even grapple because that's a projectile. Oh my god, that is so relieving. It's done. It is done. Oh. So it is possible to beat Terraria without picking up a single item. Encumbering Stone all the way to the end is possible, although it's certainly not fun, I would say. I'm glad it's done. That was quite a playthrough. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you liked what you saw, then make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next playthrough. And if you really want to support the channel, then check out my Patreon using the link in the description below. Either way, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.